Okay. All right. Today we are talking about. I haven't talked about this yet because this is just one example of the the problem that we're facing in this country. So I've talked about China, I think, ad nauseum. Yeah. Okay. So everyone thinks I hate Chinese people now. I don't hate Chinese people. I don't like the Communist Party of China. Right? I've talked about it, but there's another thing that I haven't talked about is there are several pieces at play. I've mentioned this, but I didn't talk about it in detail until today. And this is just one part of it. But there are multiple problems. And so if you haven't seen our Chinese Communist Party episode, we will post the link. And you should go watch that. And then you should also watch Joe Biden episode. You should also watch the one we just did on Afghanistan so that you guys could see what's going on. But China can never have the power that it has in the United States without other people other than the Chinese Communist Party. They need corporate billionaires, and I don't have problem with billionaires. If you could become a billionaire in America, that's all about being American. But if you are a billionaire that's gaming the system of America to oppress other people, then that's what I have issue with. I also have issue with billionaires destroying America, right? So you need elements within the United States to go along with the destabilization of this country. China can't do it by themselves. And so they need a political party, I wonder, that is openly, trying to destroy, and then another political party that just makes noise about how bad that is, but goes along with it and participates actually. So the Republicans and Democrats in this country that are what I call corporate and corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats, they are all fake. They're all serving the same people. And so there are people with a lot of money. I'm not even talking about Bill Gates' money. I'm not even talking about what's his face, Elon Musk money. I'm talking about money that people don't even see. Like we don't even know about this money. We don't even know exactly how much money these people have. Like there are reports of possibility that Putin is up there, right? He's Elon Musk, what is that? Chump change? We don't know how much money these people have. They have ways of hiding the money that they have and the power and the influence. They pull the strings on everything. So the destruction of America is not just a Chinese Communist Party, according to Yuri Bezmenov, that whole study that we did. That it's not just them causing demoralization and destabilization and all the things that they do. There's people that are not Chinese government. There's billionaires that are funding this. And one of those billionaires, and there's many of them. There's a lot of these people. They want America out of the way. And this is not a secret. It's public information. But what do we do about it, right? So we're just going to look at one of them. There's many of these people. We're just going to look at one of them because his name is the name that should not be named, right? Or most in pop culture, this person's name is more like a kind of a joke, which is on purpose. Like it's by his design. But he's a real person. And so I want to start with this video that was played at an election integrity cyber symposium talking about the cyber attack on our elections this past year. And we're going to watch just like 9 minutes of this video. And then you'll know who we're talking about. Okay? And it starts with Times wrote an article basically saying the elections were rigged, and but they call it election fortification, right? If anyone read this, read this, you could find this article. It's basically them rewording everything and basically saying, "Yeah, we've cheated." And so, all right, let's start.
As revealed in a Time magazine article in February of 2021, individuals and organizations have been plotting to fortify the election since at least 2015.
This is the inside story of the conspiracy to save the 2020 election, but it's massively important for the country to understand that it didn't happen accidentally. Democracy is not self-executing. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. They got states to change voting systems and laws and helped secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. That's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told, even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream. A well-funded cabal of powerful people, ranging across industries and ideologies, working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage and control the flow of information. They were not rigging the election. They were fortifying it.
All right, pause. That's a real article. It's in Times magazine. You could go and find it. They just think that no one's gonna actually read it and read it like with I don't know. Have you seen this?
I've read the article.
You've read the article? Isn't it crazy?
It's basically admitting that they're spinning it, saying they're making it so that they're fortifying the election to be like it's pretty much a cover up of like shady stuff, but they're doing it in our good conscience.
Yeah, it's for us, and we're gonna see who's. See, this guy is really gangster. He flexes a lot. He's saying he wants people to know, yeah, this is me. You guys can't do shit about it. That's basically how this guy is. But watch.
This network influence diagram really shows the interrelationship of money, people, and influence and control between key players and key organizations. Now, there were over 200 nonprofits that we found in this network that are all connected. What's even more troubling is that all of those 200 organizations have received substantial funding from a single source.
Of all the financial titans and philanthropists of the 20th century, none are more complex or mysterious than George Soros.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all.
Like Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and the Rockefellers, he amassed billions through ruthless business decisions, only to turn around and give away most of his fortune to advance his own personal philosophy.
I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
Do you believe in God?
No.
This is not the first time that Mr. Soros has been implicated in a plot to destroy a nation.
There's a weird glitch here.
Currently doing to America. The Philippines, Russia, Turkey, Poland, Pakistan, as well as Soros's own homeland of Hungary, have learned the hard way the true intentions of this ruthless multi-billionaire.
És egy percig sincsen kétségem afelől, hogy Soros György és a vele együttműködők mindent megtesznek, minden alkalmat megragadnak, hogy azokat a kormányokat, amelyek...
The growing emergency unfolding at the southern border.
Thousands of Central American migrants are vowing to continue their march to the U.S. border.
The number of migrants has surged in recent weeks, alarming officials who are strapped for resources.
and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros's money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring
You'll
George
get the
Soros
last.
into this.
I was going to say
He
you get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions
No,
of
he
dollars
didn't.
he spent?
I agree with
electing
Melissa.
these
George
people?
Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay. So it's verboten.
All right, we're going to. Okay, we're going to move on.
All right, that reaction is so crazy. They can't even say his name because he has so much money in all the news organizations. So that's a flex. That's George Soros flex. I do all these things. You could see the paper trail, right? Like of all the money he's spending. He's causing destabilization. He's funding all the migrants, right? Remember those migrants that came up in Mexico and they're taking pictures, and we find out later on, and we could do another video on this, but you should go research this. People should go see this. These people must have had to have walked 40 miles a day to get to the southern border. But in reality, they were bussed, right? Because they were wearing sandals. They're not worn out, and like they're like not. They look like they've been showering, and they were bussed in. And these news agencies were catching like smoke bombs videos and families running away. Like all that smoke bomb wasn't real either. It was like it's not tear gas. It's just it's used as a movie prop. And so when they brought out the can as a movie prop, this guy funded all of that. He pays money to create these kinds of situations. Antifa is funded by this guy. He also gave a lot of money to the BLM riots, which, if you were at our conference this past year in January, one of our hopefully future spiritual advisors, the pastor that spoke at our camp, his name is Robert Craig, and I consult with him about all the kind of justice stuff. And I asked him, like, should we get involved with this? And he said, absolutely not, unless you want to help Satan. And I was really shocked by that response. And he says, BLM is funded by George Soros. And I was literally like, who the hell is George Soros? And he was like, he's an evil man trying to destroy, his mission in life is to destroy America. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And then I started to look into it, right? So this guy, and that's how much power he has. Those people, was that Newt Gingrich? Yeah, so he's like George Soros, and he's like exposed. Like, this is all like, if you research this, it's not gonna be told on mainstream media because he funds them, and they can't talk about him. There's a rule: you can't mention his name on television, on mainstream media. But if you go look, like, none of this is secret. Like, he does fund Antifa, and he does fund, like, he wants everybody to know. But he's like, it's a flex. You can't say my name on TV. And so they cut the interview. It's so weird. They're all like staring like, holy shit, Newt Gingrich just said his name. You can't say his name. And they're like freaked out. All right. So people need to realize, I hope that shows you that we need to take this guy seriously.
It was in 2006 when Soros said, the main obstacle to a stable and just world is the United States. Translated into truth, that sentence would read, the main obstacle to destabilizing the world is the United States. While Soros is often accused of unfounded conspiracies, that should not detour from the heinous crimes against humanity that he's actually guilty of. Many of those crimes he keeps hidden in plain sight. According to a white paper called U.S. Programs 2015 to 2018 Strategy, Soros's Open Societies Foundation began funding radical operations in Arizona and Georgia in 2015 with the goal of subverting the 2020 presidential elections. Through massive campaign contributions and nonprofit funding, Soros owns and controls countless public officials, university professors, teachers' unions, mayors, district attorneys, judges, congressmen, senators, secretaries of state, sheriffs, governors, and electronic voting machine companies around the world. In 2010, George Soros shocked even his most devout loyalists when he declared that China has a better functioning government than the United States. While the Chinese people should be considered friends and allies, The Chinese Communist Party is anything but. The CCP has been plotting to take over the United States for the better part of this last century, and their unconventional warfare principles are barely recognizable to the U.S. population.
America's top intelligence official even went so far as to say, and I quote, "If I could communicate one thing to the American people from this unique vantage point, it is that the People's Republic of China poses the greatest threat to democracy and freedom worldwide since World War II."
While we were sleeping, their poisonous seeds planted long ago have taken root and are now in full bloom within U.S. soil. The Chinese government and their operatives are buying up the United States at an alarming rate. Through cover organizations and individuals, they're purchasing American farms and businesses in mass volume. In addition, the CCP has co-opted the U.S. entertainment industry. Chinese firms own several major U.S. entertainment companies and control more than 8,000 American theater screens. Hollywood movie scripts are often reviewed and censored if they pose any threat to the image of the Chinese Communist Party. And many professional sports teams and players are controlled in great part by the CCP.
The pandemic sped up a trend that was already years in the making, and it's brought about another change: the Chinese government's growing influence over the content of these films. That has people worried, including members of Congress, as they point to a growing list of examples of Hollywood seemingly bending to China's will.
Now, here's a case in point. If you're a Hollywood actor, whatever you do, don't call Taiwan a country. Here's WWE star John Cena apologizing for doing just that.
我很抱歉对我的错误，对不起，我很抱歉。你必须了解，我很爱、很尊重中国跟中国人。
And that's the fear now, because you're now making movies for 16-year-olds and China. And that's it.
LeBron James taking on Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey, whose tweet supporting protests in Hong Kong set off a firestorm between the country and the league.
China announcing this morning they're pulling NBA games from their airwaves.
I don't want to get into a feud with Daryl, but I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand. Just be careful what we tweet and we say.
Why would the NBA take $500 million plus from a country that is engaging in ethnic cleansing?
They are a customer of ours, and guess what, Megan? I'm okay with doing business with China.
One of the stark realities of this past year is the clear and present threat that China represents to the United States of America and to the daily lives of Americans. And it's not just about exporting a pandemic. China has also potentially compromised Joe Biden's family.
Joe Biden, while he was vice president, took billions of dollars in bribes from the Chinese government in the form of payments to his son Hunter's businesses. In exchange, Biden was soft on Chinese military and economic aggression.
This is the reason why I've held the view for so many years and continue to hold the view that a rising China is a positive development. They're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not a competition for us. Yeah, I think that the biggest competitor is China.
Joe Biden had a bit to say today, suggesting that China wants to own America by 2035.
They literally have a stated goal of toppling America as the world superpower. How on earth could Joe Biden, with a straight face, negotiate with a government who's put billions of dollars into his family's businesses?
And finally, new rule, you're not going to win the battle for the 21st century if you are a silly people. And Americans are a silly people. Half the country is having a never-ending woke competition deciding whether Mr. Potato Head has a dick. Don't tickle me. We are a silly people. Do you know who doesn't care that there's a stereotype of a Chinese man in a Dr. Seuss book? China. You think China's doing that? Letting political correctness get in the way of nurturing their best and brightest? You think Chinese colleges are offering courses in the philosophy of Star Trek, the sociology of Seinfeld, and surviving the coming zombie apocalypse? Those are real, and so is China, and they are eating our lunch.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. Last night, I was on the phone for 2 straight hours with Xi Jinping. And, you know, we don't get moving, they're gonna eat our lunch. When he called to congratulate him, we had a 2-hour discussion. He's deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world.
All right, that's enough. So we're talking about Soros today, and you guys see the connection here. There's more than George Soros. There's more than George Soros. Everything that happened, there's a lot of coincidences happening. We have a virus coming out of China that goes around the world, and then we have a response to this virus that's very influenced by World Health Organization recommendations that is owned by China. And it seems to not be in our best interest, but in the interest of a country like China. And so, look at this. Everyone, it made me my blood boil. Last year, I was like, Antifa is moving around. They're real. And somebody messaged me, Antifa's not a real organization. They're not real. And I was like, and of course, Twitter, all the social media giants, they all receive money from Soros. And just like you can't say Soros, is a threat to America, even though he has explicitly said he wants to, he's saying that we are the biggest problem. But we have Antifa existing here, right? Here they are existing. And what do they say? They say, that's on YouTube, right? So, okay. And so people but on the mainstream media, they keep saying Antifa doesn't exist, right? They don't exist. And so these soy boys out there, right, starting riots and whatever, they don't exist, but they do. And we just saw, Project Veritas expose a grade school teacher in the AP government with a picture of Mao on his wall, Antifa flag on his wall, and he gives kids extra credit for showing up to Antifa events and serving at Antifa events. So, guys, listen, there's Antifa right there existing, right in our faces, and they were a part of the BLM riots. They were part of all of it, and Soros funds Antifa, and they're those guys didn't get their money apparently, and asking Soros to give them their money. BLM exists not as anything to do with helping black lives, but in order to extend a Marxist agenda. And then Soros also, and it's not just Soros, guys, look at, there are documents from all of these nonprofit billionaires saying that China is the preferable superpower in the New World Order. Like, they really think that in the coming future global government and financial system, China is a better system of governance, and the United States is what stands in the way of a one world government. Like, I hope that people don't think that that's a conspiracy theory, that is the pursuit. They don't call it one world government because it sounds spooky. They don't call it New World Order anymore because George Bush said it and Senior said it, and it spooked people. But what they want is, what they call is a globalist now. That's what they call it. I'm a globalist. I want one world peace, one world government, one world financial system, which the Bible talks about as the beast. So there are people like George Soros, and even people that are more wealthy than Soros. Soros is a puppet and a pawn of greater powers. And these people want to destroy your country. Okay? And I don't know how much more evidence you need, but we're going to look at the Daily Wire wrote something up many years ago. This was back in 2016. All right, here's a couple more facts about George Soros. You could find this on the Daily Wire. Soros is a convicted felon. Soros was convicted of insider trading in France in 2002. A court determined that he had acted with the knowledge that the bank might be a takeover target, according to Bloomberg. The court ordered Soros to pay 2.2 million euros, 2.9 million in restitution. He is a criminal, And he openly also destabilizes countries. Soros comes from an anti-Semitic Jewish family and was a Nazi collaborator. Soros is an anti-Jewish Jewish person. He says, "My mother was quite anti-Semitic and ashamed of being Jewish," Soros said in an interview with CBS in 60 Minutes. Given the culture in which one lived, being Jewish was a clear-cut stigma, disadvantage, a handicap, and therefore there was always a desire to transcend it, to escape it. Soros later said in the interview that he did not feel any remorse about confiscating property from Jews as a teenager. "I don't deny the Jews their right to national existence, but I don't want to be a part of it." Soros is a rabid anti-Israel advocate and has compared Israel to the Nazis. Soros, number 3, basically funds the left mainstream media. This is really important for people to understand. That all the lefty, super progressive ideology, none of it makes sense. None of it makes intellectual sense. But why is it so popular? Because there's so much money being pumped into it. So anyone that thinks that progressive ideology is so hip and cool, there's nothing hip and cool about it. It's just propaganda. Soros basically funds, number 3, the leftist mainstream media. The Media Research Center chronicled back in 2011 how Soros has ties to over 30 news outlets in the mainstream media. For instance, at the time of the MRC report, this was back in 2016, the Soros-funded ProPublica Journalism Advisory Board featured the following journalists: Jill Abramson from the New York Times, the executive editor of that at that time of the New York Times; Carrie Smith, the senior vice president of editorial quality of ABC News; Cynthia A. Tucker, the editor of the editorial page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Abramson, who was since been fired from the Times, is now a columnist for The Guardian. Tucker is no longer in the editor as the AJC, but a syndicated columnist and commentator. Following members of the media have also been advisory boards of Soros Group as well. So I'm not going to read all of these. ABC, National Public, NPR. Guys, NPR is Soros money. The University of Pennsylvania. Okay. All of these places. And I'm sure now there's more that has his grubby little fingers on, even the Fox News. So Washington Post and CBS, okay, CNN, like there's, okay, I don't want to keep going through this, but like he has money in all of these and closely tied with the Clinton family. Soros, number 4, created a shadow party of leftist organizations that basically have control of the Democrat Party. According to Discover the Networks, the McCain-Feingold law allowed for organizations called 527 committees, defined as independent groups that could produce issue-oriented ads, voter education initiatives, and get out of the vote drives and other party-building activities that move the Democratic Party further to the left. Some of these organizations include MoveOn.org and Center for American Progress. Soros is bankrolling Democratic presidential nominee at that time. She lost. Investors Business Daily reports that Soros gave $9 million to pro-Clinton super PACs and was able to dictate State Department policy in Albania. Soros also recently had dinner with the Clintons' vice president, Tim Kaine. That's how much of a loser she is. I don't even remember that dude. I don't even know who the vice presidential nominee was. Tim Kaine. Who is that? That's how bad she lost. Soros is connected with Donald Trump. Soros funded the building of Trump Tower. Gave $160 million. They were friends at one point. Told conservatives, forget Soros, leave him alone. He's got enough problems. While Soros is committed to defeating Trump, he did help prop up Kasich, which is a rhino. These politicians aren't real. They're supposed to make it look like there's legitimate opposition, but it's BS. And one more thing I want to say about that: when they say things like like for example, Fox News, like they only play that. It's not a real. It's to make it look like that there are opposing parties in D.C. It's just to create an illusion. It's not real. Okay. So Soros is committed to defeating Trump, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but it's not outside the realm of possibility that Soros, believing his old buddy Trump wouldn't stand a chance against Clinton, which was wrong. Trump won. made sure that he would be the nominee over Cruz. He thought Trump would have a greater chance losing than Cruz would. All right, Soros Open Society Foundation says that Europe's refugee crisis should be viewed as the new normal. This guy is funding the refugee crisis, and a lot of the media worthy moments. He has film crews show up, and it's a LARP. Number 8, Soros funds Black Lives Matter groups. This is what one of my mentors, I consider one of my mentors, told me. And on a call, according to Washington Times analysis of Soros-funded OSF's tax returns, the organization gave at least $33 million to BLM groups in 1 year. This was back in 2016. I'm sure he's given way more, especially what happened last year. Their story was based on OSF simply denying they fund BLM and trying to claim that it would be impossible to track the $33 million. See, they're good at hiding their money, but you get found out. Soros funding has a tendency to benefit himself. Okay, this is how they make money without looking like they're making money. All right. So he does this all around the world, okay? And
could I add something to this?
Yeah, go add.
Yeah. So I remember reading about George Soros 2016.
Do you need this mic?
No, I'm mic'd ready.
Oh, you're mic'd. Yeah.
So I remember reading about George Soros 2016, and I'm like, at first I was very skeptical about all these things that people are saying about him. I'm like, why would he want to do this? And if he's just donating money, then isn't he just losing money, right?
Yeah.
And then apparently, I looked it up, and he has this thing where he bets against U.S. economies and countries falling.
Yeah.
And he profits off of the crash.
Yes.
So he makes billions off of that, and he has already done that in, I believe it was in like a multiple other European countries. He's played it in he did it against the British pound. He did it, and now he's trying to do it with the US dollar. So which makes sense that he's doing all this to profit and benefit himself.
Yep.
And the destruction of the economy, civil unrest, and all that stuff. So I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. I did find a couple articles, which I'll probably link into the video, about he just placed February 2017 $500 million bet on the fall of the U.S. economy, and all these things that he's doing to print money and just inflation rates going really high. So that's kind of like, I guess, when people ask what's his benefit in doing all this.
He's an evil genius.
Yeah, so he's definitely making money off of all
of
this.
Misery, human misery.
Yeah, and I think I related to, like, I think it was the housing crisis.
Yeah.
Somebody profited off of that too. I think banking against the fact that they won't ever be able to recover from it because they knew it and they pushed it forward.
Yes.
So I gotta find the article for that. But that's kind of like, I want to make sure that people know that's his game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, all these people that seem like philanthropists, they have all these nonprofits. It's just another way to evade taxation, and so that they can maximize their profit. Their money is hidden in so many different ways. What you see and what's reported on, to the public is what they want us to see. Like, Bill Gates is not a good man. He can't be. Okay, Mr. Bill Gates can apologize for hanging out Jeffrey Epstein and create some cockamamie story that he was trying to, through Epstein, create better chances to win a Nobel Prize. But he kept hanging out with him, even though Epstein had been already punished slightly for child sex trafficking and rape. So, and even his own wife, in getting divorced, said that made her feel uncomfortable, right? So these people are not good people, okay? And there's a lot of these people. There's a lot of them, and they are trying to destroy this country. I saw this graph of the destruction of America in 16 years, 2 presidencies back to back. Actually, it goes longer than that. This has been George Bush Sr. was the first one to start this process, to create, to destabilize and destroy America, so that it could be replaced and a cry would go out for a need for a global government. I hope everyone is paying attention out there, and this is no longer a fantasy, but you see that the World Economic Forum and all of this globalist language, they say it from their own mouths, right? Maybe you could find that clip, dude, of George Sr. saying that, talking about the New World Order, and we could play that real quick while I talk. But like, this is happening right now. What are we doing? Like, COVID is horrible. COVID is horrible. But it's meant to be horrifying enough for us to be completely distracted. I think I want to have my friend on with me on one of these shows to talk about liberty, how important liberty is. They have Soros and his cronies and people that listen to this propaganda. They immediately think about liberty as something selfish, right? And so we have to do an episode just on talking about why liberty is righteousness. Okay, but these people are trying to destroy, and if you destroy America, then Chinese social values take over the planet. And every Western country that thinks that they're free right now, when the U.S. goes, and it will not be destroyed from the outside, it will be destroyed from the inside. That's what's happening. And unless we do something right now, there's still a chance. And what if, okay, so Pastor Sam, the Bible says that the New World Order, one world government, one currency, and the Antichrist is going to come. So shouldn't we just get ready for all of that? It's like, how do we get ready for all that? By preaching the gospel, by standing up for righteousness, even if you lose, right? So if we could delay this in some way by fighting for this country, it's worth the fight. And we don't know what the future holds. We shouldn't just lay down. So did you find it? Okay, but so let me just talk about this New World Order speech. You could find it online, guys, and yes, there's creepy ones. Bush announcing the New World Order. Coincidentally, the speech is called. The speech itself is called "Toward a New World Order." That the speech is called that. And guess when the speech was given, brother? What? Guess the date. No, guess the date. Huh? September 11, 1990. It's just a coincidence, though, probably. Probably just a coincidence. September 11, 1990. And you can find the full speech online on BitChute. So Clinton's and then the Obama's. I think Hillary Clinton was supposed to do all the stuff that's happening right now. And she lost. The trauma of this past year and the 2021, this is all catch up, right? Catching up to on the schedule. We are right now needing for the church to wake up out of this woke nonsense. It is propaganda. It's propaganda created to destroy the country, to divide Americans, and to have us scrambling around confused while the freedoms of this country and this country is destroyed from the inside out. That's what is taking place at this very moment. That's what certain people like George Soros and others are fighting to accomplish. It's not just George Soros. Is George Soros doing nothing right now? No. We have an article here of George Soros on theblaze.com. The title says, George Soros donates another $500,000 to pro-Newsom effort as the California governor faces a recall election. George Soros has donated $500,000 additionally to an entity backing California Governor Gavin Newsom Financial disclosure records reveal, according to Fox News. Soros donated the massive sum to the Stop the Republican Recall of Governor Newsom organization on Monday, according to the outlet, which noted that the move came on top of another $500,000 that he had previously supplied. On the recall ballot, voters will indicate whether they believe Newsom should be removed, and they will also vote for a potential replacement candidate. So he's not dead. He's still doing stuff. He wants to stop the recall. Guys, you know what that means? You need to go out. You need to make sure that you vote. You need to make sure that you, if you can, vote in person. Okay? And participate in this. Christians need to participate. Christians need to get involved. There are so many Christians in California that love Jesus. And if we didn't listen to the lie that we have to keep our faith in a secret box that doesn't touch the real world in politics, social life, and every other part of our life, then this guy, George Soros, and all these other people, they can't stop the people in America. But that means that we have to get involved financially. We have to get involved with more than just nonprofit help of the downtrodden. But I want you guys to understand this. Politics affect the downtrodden the most. This problem in downtown LA, that is a political problem. It's a problem of leadership and governance. Right? This destabilization. Look what's happening in San Francisco. People are walking in and looting shops and stores. I don't know if it's still happening right now, but that's because of bad legislation and bad politics. When they're releasing criminals during COVID because they're afraid the criminals are going to get COVID in prison, and they're releasing rapists and murderers into our streets, and then when they start beating up people and doing what they do, which is criminal activity, we obfuscate the problem by having hashtag Stop Asian Hate and stupid things like this, rather than put violent criminals back into prison. This is bad governance. And so I love donating to causes, but we have to also participate, if we can, in the political realm where these problems are either produced or exacerbated. Okay? So he found the video. We'll look at this real quick, and then we're going to close up here. And George Bush Sr., just the part where he talks about. The speech is called Towards a New World Order.
The crisis in the Persian Gulf is grave as freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure has begun to move toward an historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, East and West, North and South, can prosper and live in harmony. 100 generations have searched for this elusive path to peace, while 1,000 wars raged across the span of human endeavor. And today that new world is struggling to be born. A world quite different from the one we've known. A world where the rule of law supplants the rule of the jungle. A world in which nations recognize the shared responsibility for freedom and justice. A world where the strong respect the rights of the weak. This is the vision that I shared with President Gorbachev in Helsinki. He and other leaders from Europe, the Gulf, and around the world understand that how we manage this crisis today could shape the future for generations to come. The test we face is great, and so are the stakes. This is the first assault on the new world that we see, the first test of our mettle. Had we not responded to this first provocation with clarity of purpose, if we do not continue to demonstrate our determination,
We could do like another one on just this topic. This is a real topic of discussion of globalism and the, in their view, the arcane idea of nation states and moving towards a global community. The problem with that is there's so many. And I would love to have my friend Kyle come on and talk about that together at another time. But guys, this is not a good idea. This is called utopian idealism, and utopian idealism fails 100% of the time because it doesn't factor in the reality of human life and human liberty. Look at the utopian vision of Mao. Look at and this is what they want. They want China to lead the way in our utopian one world government future. And look what's going on in China. When you have utopian people, what you do is, I just saw an interview with Peterson talking about this, Jordan Peterson. You have equality of poverty. You have also equality of oppression. And so not only are you going to have this nonsense, utopian ideas is on paper only and never in real life. So let me give you an example of utopian reality. Universal healthcare exists in Mozambique. Everyone has free healthcare in Mozambique. Every child has equal amounts of medicine, and everyone has an equal opportunity to get the healthcare that they want. My friend, who I won't name him here, is a doctor there, and I told him, "Hey, how is the healthcare there?" He's like, "We never have medicine to give to the kids." And so I say, "But how come the government report says that every kid has medication and there's always enough for everyone, everything is equally distributed?" Because that's the paperwork that we have to file, or we lose our jobs, or we lose our lives. So he has kids dying in the hospital every day. They have to tell the patients that they gave the medicine that was required, but what they give them is saline. What they give them is medication that doesn't heal the sickness. And he was weeping with me, talking about how, but on paper, he needs to write down that everything that was given, that perfect health care was given. That's how communism runs. That's how utopian ideas are accomplished, through narrative, fantasy making, not real application. This is, for those of you who are thinking, what's so bad about what George Bush is saying here? You need to study how all of these experiments, how they have ended, and the fact that they are saying that China is the model by which all the other governments of the world should model themselves after, which surprisingly all this COVID response is modeling after Chinese government model for some reason, is something that you need to really think about. And I think the church needs to stop with this nonsense and participate. I just put there's the next article here on CBN News. John MacArthur's church receives massive settlement after defying COVID health orders. For the first time, John MacArthur Public admitted Sunday that COVID-19 infection spread through his Southern California congregation last year, noting he and his wife fell ill to the virus in December. MacArthur told church members ahead of his sermon that many people contracted COVID. It probably went through our church maybe December or January. The pastor said that he and his wife Patricia enjoyed our own bout with COVID for about a week and a half. The preacher's admission came amid news that Grace Community Church in Sun Valley received $800,000 in settlement from Los Angeles County after defying pandemic-induced health orders. Jen Ellis, the church's attorney, tweeted about the settlement, very pleased with the approval of an $800,000 settlement. In total win for my clients, John MacArthur and Grace Community Church on behalf of Thomas More Society. The church is essential. Our statement, we're very pleased to see Pastor MacArthur and Grace Community Churches First Amendment protections fully vindicated in this case. It's been a hard-fought battle to preserve religious liberty, and we hope that this result will encourage Californians and all Americans to continue to stand firm that church is essential. Jenna Ellis and Charles Lamandry, Thomas More Society, Special Counsel and Attorneys for John MacArthur and Grace Community Church. This is a victory also for Pastor Cheon and also many other pastors that filed suit to keep our churches open. The nonsense that the virus doesn't spread everywhere is the problem with all of this. The virus spreads no matter what. And we did that video about COVID a few weeks ago, about the mass studies that are now getting scrubbed off the internet. There were always mass studies for construction workers and doctors and surgeons that have existed before COVID, and saying that long-term use is not good for us. But it's being scrubbed now from medical journals, and this thing is spreading, and we can't do anything about it. And so we need to fight to move on with our lives, right? And take whatever precaution is right for you. Wear it if you want. Wear 2, wear 5. Get vaxxed. Get all 10. Whatever you want to do. Don't get vaxxed and get natural immunity, which this past week, they're saying natural immunity is better than getting vaxxed. No. This is crazy. Get ivermectin, even though the news media, Soros-funded media, is saying that it's horse paste, but Japan is giving it now instead of the Moderna vaccines that have been 1.2 million vaccines have been recalled because of tainted vaccines with metallic substances. So now they're talking about giving ivermectin in Japan. So do whatever you need to do, but losing our liberties is not worth this. I'm not talking about liberty to do whatever I want to do and have fun. I'm talking about the liberty to live. Okay? And we have to start fighting back against this. There's this website called Revive California. It's Revive REVIVECAL.org. It's a ministry that Pastor Cheon started for the church to get involved with politics in California and to overthrow people like Soros and their influence on this country and in our state. I encourage all church people, get political. Right? Like don't do politics in church. And it's like, what are we, neutered? We need to participate in righteous legislation in this country. I'm not talking about California becoming a Christian state or something like that, but Christians need to vote and give and donate to things that they believe is righteous. Texas just passed the heartbeat law. Praise God that you can abort a baby, and people are just going to stop crying about it. If they really want to abort their baby, go to another state. Okay, it's not like, people are threatening to leave the state, and Texans are even more happy that those people are going to leave. But heartbeat, if you detect a heartbeat in a baby, you can abort. Praise God. People are like, abortion, if you, just because you legislate it as being wrong, doesn't mean that people are going to stop doing it. But it means less people will do it. Do you know how I know that? Okay, if I made murder legal right now, murder rates are going to go up. Do you know what I'm saying? If there was no consequence, right? Like the $900 in San Francisco, if you steal beneath $900, you don't get any kind of criminal charges pressed against you. You don't get any kind of legal recourse. Nothing happens to you. Then people are going to go in and steal $899 worth of stuff every day. But if you criminalize it, it's not that people don't want to try to do that. Less people will. And it'll be harder for people to do it. That's the reason. If I said nothing happens to you if you kill somebody, you won't go to jail, you won't get a fine, nothing will happen to you. Everybody will start killing everybody. I'm telling you, people will kill people. We don't need a law criminalizing murder if we weren't worried about it. So legislating a heartbeat law for the unborn, praise God. The most innocent, most helpless If you don't, it's like, oh my God, but what if I want an abortion? Wear a condom. You know, be careful when you have sex. Don't just go like, tonight we're just going to go free. Don't do stupid decisions. Don't be inebriated, making dumb decisions while you're high on drugs. Don't do any of that. For the people, that the 1%ers of abortion that are, you know, rape and incest or whatever, okay, maybe there's a pass for you guys. But for the 99.99, just kidding, 99% cases of just screwing up because you can't make adult decisions in your life and you want to take a kid's life away because of your dumb decision, boo-hoo to you. Boo-hoo. No tears. Be responsible. Stop being a little baby. All right? Okay, so we need to get involved with stuff like that. And I encourage you guys, vote. Encourage others to vote righteously. Stop participating in Soros left-funded propaganda funded by all these billionaires that want to destroy this country and thinking that there's some kind of new way of thinking out there. It's all just garbage, rehashed, recovered, funded by those that want to destroy this country. I'm out.